Hello, welcome to the operational stage. And we are here to review Reimaging Information Management. Basically, we're going to go through the current challenges and the data overload complicities. And let us introduce ourselves first. So my name is Melania Bergna. I'm a BIM Information and Management digital construction consultant, and I'm also apply advanced data analytics and integration, so our workflows. And with me is Rob Brandin, who is also a digital consultant with a wide experience in BIM and information management, workflows, and also data analytics. So basically, we are both from WSP, and there's a lot of course, misconceptions about from what we do in WSP. We are not just engineers or MEP engineers or structural engineers. We also work with BIM information management. We have a complete wide range of services coming from consultancy, visualization, BIM and information management, and also software solutions. So if we go to the next slide, I will introduce you to Rob. Then he will be talking about document simplification.
Thank you, Melania. So the idea is to have a lengthy 50 pages BEP, a document, to a more dynamic 10 pages. This is an example. This is a real case example that we did in one of our projects. And these can be done through links, QR codes, and tooltips where you can pretty much hide this information, and then you can hover over, you can click on the link, or you can pretty much scan a QR code, and you will get that information in a separate area. Like in this case, it's like a document pool. That document pool can be like usually is in our CD, which is where everybody is there, so that these links are not like tricky ones that can be like a bit difficult to manage, or they are not ideal. So the example of this BEP, this is a real case, is in Broadgate Tower in London. That was a refurbishment, and this BEP went from 50 pages to 10 pages. If you get rid of the sections and the covers, you can just get a very simple and dynamic document. So in this case, we have the project standards. These project standards, they don't need to be in the BEP. You can just put this in the CD, for example, in the document pool that I mentioned earlier, and you can get access to that ISO, in this case, the ISO 19650. Another example that we have was the terms and definitions. We have, like, in project objectives and deliverables, you can hover over. This is like a tooltip where you can hover over that information. You get rid of a lot of text that you don't need it. This is a simplification of the document, and it's quite useful, and it's been working actually quite well within the task teams. In this case, we have the tooltip, and that one was the link of the roles and responsibilities. You have this in an Excel, and you can get these, and people can get access. It's more dynamic for them. Is when they see a document that is 17 pages, they can just go through it, and they can get access to the documents or information that they need. Class detection procedure, for example, is another thing that we wanted to put these aside rather than in the document, so you can see the workflow of the coordination and class detection, and even you can get access to the in this case, it's new format connect, so you get access to all the issue management, and it's much. I mean, it's more, as I said before, it's more dynamic, and it's more appealing for the task team. When they see a document that is like 30 pages or more than 50 pages, is just a very annoying. QR code as well. You hover over, you see these QR codes. They can scan this QR code, and they can get access to the 3D model. This is something that was very useful as well, because we need to take into account that not everybody is knowledgeable about this, so they don't have the tools as well, or they don't have the means. So by clicking on the document, they can get access to this 3D model information rather than asking about this 3D model information. That was one of the examples of this simplification of the documents. And as I said before, you can go from one project to the other, so you can pass that information to other projects. So the information is transferable and it goes from one project to the other. So you can just pretty much copy the links and get that information to your colleagues or to one of your projects, pretty much. And I leave it to you, Melania, about data management.
So thanks, Rob. What I will talk about is data management. And what I would like to highlight first in that if you ever been in presentations that seem to be true, or reports, then the review process seems to be off a little. And by saying this, what I'm trying to make a comment about is, for example, when we see the top of the iceberg. So we don't see the real work that is hidden on that process. So we need to be able to produce more feedback to our teams. And by saying this is where all this information is coming from and where all our data is coming from. We cannot really rely on a spot check or in a comment, because we are relying and we are going to produce some human error on that. Oh. So by doing this, I just presented a bit of a data map. Then it shows where all the data is coming from in a report, for example. Some projects will be different than other, and some projects will have the data coming from different CDs, from IFCs. CDs will have different capabilities, so you will encounter that not every project will be the same, but you are able to set up a process for this. I think nowadays CDs are having more capabilities, API capabilities, so it becomes easier to export the data from the models for what it used to be before. So we can see on the right hand side a data model, and as you can see by this star diagram, is that everything is coming to one point of the data model. And by doing this, we are bringing all the different information, analyzing it, creating different calculations, and we're able to report in our data. So we are not relying in a comment from an information manager that says, this is not okay. So this is when I come to the Jigo effect, and it does happen a lot of times. Then if we don't have our data structure, if we don't know what we're talking about, or if we have just review it and make a comment on it, we are more likely to report something that is not accurate, something that is not reflecting the exact information. It may be that 80% of the information is wrong, but we need to showcase and demonstrate how that information is not correct and why. In this situation, for example, this is a simple workflow that we have set up. What it basically does is that we have utilized an add-in on Revit, and we create a schedule export by Autodesk Docs. Then we'll export the schedules on the models. By setting up shared parameters, we have told design teams where is the information needs to be appropriate located. So we're able to export the schedules that are read by Power BI and report exact data. So we don't come with, in some situations, in projects, you will see that the parameters are located in different areas of the model. And that is not best practice, because then when you hand over your model, that means that the information will be all over. And we need to be able to locate the data. And that is why it's important to do this setup at the beginning of the project, to make sure that your data is accurate and you are checking the data that is meant to be there. It happens lots of times, and this is located in different places in the model, and it's not correct. This is another example, for example, and it comes when we have data overload by emails. One of our main tasks as information managers is to try to bring this best practice in our teams. And that comes, for example, was a project, and we had a master plan and several topics. And what we did was to create a Microsoft form and then a workflow on Power Automate that will populate a SharePoint list, and it will give us all the information that it was required. So when you had an ask to do on Autodesk Construction Cloud, and you needed something, a folder, a new member, something different, you will have a form to fill. Then it will have exactly the information that we need. I will avoid us producing a back and forward on emails asking for more information, because usually that is what happens, that people will not submit the required information. By doing this, we also automated a flow on Power Automate. Then when the query was resolved, you will get an email from us saying that this has been resolved. Similarly, what you do when you query something with IAT's departments, and that avoids the amount of emails that we will get in a project that maybe you have more than 500 people working on. So then it comes to data visualization. So once we have done our data checks, and or now once we've done our data management and where all this data is coming from and organize it, it's important to see how we share this information and who are you sharing this information to. So know your audience. So how many times we have come to reports and have 50 pages are static. So that means that every time you have to update it, you have to create a new report, and it relies a lot of human error and peer reviewing. So you will be involving more than one person in the team to be able to produce that report. So that is when it comes BI intelligence. So we have, for example, we use Power BI, and in this situation, we are able to transmit the information and create an interactive tool. It is important to realize who is receiving our information. So for example, we have the project management manager that she's required to see a summary of the information. So who has reviews open on ACC, who has not submitted the correct information. And for example, in this slide, we can see the design team that needs to see the technical information in detail. So we have several checks and calculations that we do with data analytics, where we review the information that we previously structured, and we can provide detailed feedback then where is the information is incorrect, and then we can see the statistics then if teams have been reviewing our information and you have interact with this interactive tool. So you can make sure that you have more control in how information management it's being looking in your project. And I added this slide because I think it's important also to realize that we cannot rely on spot checks anymore. It was probably a bit of a flow, something that we used to do at the beginning, just review the information and submit a very lengthy report. But we are information management managers, and we have a lot of tools to provide accurate data reviews. So it's a very risky gamble to just to rely on spot checks.
Yeah, so this is model coordination as well. We were talking about information management and dealing with data overload and complexities. I mean, model coordination, we have also these complexities. We all know this approach. We have the federated model based on discipline models. We put all together and we run the coordination, you know. Before that, what we do is just to put all the clashes and everything, and I'm still seeing these type of things in the coordination meetings where you have the green and red stuff, floating model components. There is no context around these issues, and we have the location of these issues that are missing. So every time that we run a coordination an issue management meeting, the first question from the consultants is, sorry, where is this and where can I see it? So I think this is something that we need to consider. Is simplicity, but as well, we need to understand that these type of clashes, green and red stuff, is something meaningless, you know, and that means no context, which that implies that there is a lack of effort from our side and the consultant side, and also gives more work to the task team. So by looking at this, what we need to be is like, we have to change that approach. We need to digest that information from them. We cannot give them like 50,000 crashes and then expecting that they can just change or they can see everything. So we need to digest that information. So our approach is all the time making sure that we prepare the ground, we establish the areas and locations, and we focus on small batches rather than the whole project. In 90 minutes that usually are our coordination meetings, we cannot go through the whole project. So let's do one step at a time first. And let's make sure that, for example, in our case, in the issue title, we have 3 parameters and we are consistent. So we put the level, we put the location and the zone, and we put a short description all in the issue title. We don't go to the description because the description means that you need to click to see that. So if you see the title, it goes straight to the point. So one of the examples, New Format Connect, is the title. As I said before, you put everything in the title. You don't need to put anything in the description because it will take more time and more clicks. So you go to the level, which is B1, and then you go to the zone is G7 Southeast. That is the zone, and then you have the short description where you can pretty much see everything. It has to be short because otherwise it will be very long and you don't see everything. And then you move on. That is the idea behind. And it doesn't matter how you do it. As long as you are consistent, you can have the zone, level, and description, or you can put whatever you want, but everybody has to be consistent. That is key. And this is our last thoughts about simplicity, because many of us believe that, but not in our case anymore, but through this experience, we understand that simplicity is something that we are not taking care of, or we don't want to, or we are taking shortcuts. By no means is that. Simplicity is something that has been resolved before, something that was complex. And this was one of the examples that we did in a presentation for Houses of Commons. And that was my presentation, by the way. So that was a big mistake to put this for someone that the audience was not very knowledgeable. So I put these slides, and I believe no one understood this. And that's why we need to reduce text, we need to avoid bullet points, and we need to simplify the message. We need to understand our audience, which is sometimes is very difficult because we are in ourselves, we are in our brain, and we need to put in others' brain. So these PowerPoints usually are easy for the author, but they're hard to understand for the audience. So we need to be always in their brains, not in our brain. And another example was in the same presentation where I tried to explain why 3D is better than 2D. So my initial idea was to put in a slide like an image from Revit from one of our projects and explain why 3D is better than 2D. But in this case, the visual that you can see right now is very complex. It is not clear and it's too much information in one slide. So the audience will not understand this if you have this approach. Whereas when you do something similar to the previous one, so you want to convey that information, to transmit that information to all audiences, you explain why 3D is better than 2D. So you just put an image of 2D and you can see that 2D doesn't represent the reality. And that is something that they can understand much better, So that is our approach about simplicity. As you can see, we are not taking very difficult workflows. We are just pretty much simplifying the information and trying to be in the other person brain, which is the idea. And that is it. That is the whole idea about this presentation: simplicity over complexity. Thank you very much.